Did you guys have so much fun last night? Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved last night. And so I just wanted to thank you for coming back for day two, which was really important. And because there's so many great things that we have to share with you. And so I'm thank you for getting here on time and being ready to start right at 10 so that we could get this really rich conversation started. And so I wanted to introduce you to just a wonderful, wonderful person that I have followed on Instagram and her work for quite a while. She is a licensed therapist in the Charlotte area. She owns her own practice and is making a difference in the lives of people every day, it's obvious. She's a very sought after speaker, a sought after person to speak into the lives of men, women, and children. She's been featured on all of the morning talk shows. She has a New York Times bestseller, which we're going to talk all about that today. Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And I am just honored to be able to introduce you to Miss Nedra Tawwab. Let's give it up for her.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome, Nedra. We're so happy to have you.
I am so happy to be here.
Yeah, we've got a great group of ladies and men that are here to just experience a lot of your wisdom and whatever it is that you would like to share with us today. But I just wanted to say personally how honored that I am that you, in your very busy schedule, carved out time to be with us today.
Absolutely. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so excited about the relationship we've been able to nurture over the years just via, social media. I think
Yes.
so many people think of it as this dark and scary place, and here we are.
That is the way I connected with you. And, it's astounding to think it's been 2 years since that first phone call. And so much has
Hmm.
happened in these last 2 years. And this conference in and of itself has been canceled twice,
Yes.
been rescheduled. And of course, during that time, your book launch has come out and very successfully. Congratulations, I will say.
Thank you.
And I just think it's such an honor to be able to have you here today. So thank you for honoring that commitment that we made so long
You're
ago.
Yeah, before the world changed, I think for so many of us, the pandemic has shifted things in ways that we couldn't have imagined. Yeah, this was supposed to happen. Was it the beginning of last year?
2020, yes, that
Yeah.
was the first time, April of 2020, and we had such a good plan, such a good plan. And then we rescheduled for October, such a good plan. And then that fell through. Then I thought about spring, and then spring of 2021, in March, your book came out. And so I'm like,
Hmm.
well, I'm not doing it then because I want her to be able to be with me. And so then, of course,
Yeah.
in October. So I'm so thankful that you were able to be with us. So again, we've got people that are here waiting they've got their notes and they're ready to take notes. So there's a note that has her beautiful picture on it. So you can pull that out if you want to take notes with that. So like I said, we're going to be using your book as a premise for some of the discussion. But
Hmm.
I also have my own questions, that I'm kind of thinking through as well. But obviously, as I shared that I found your work on Instagram. In
Hmm.
May of 2019, I was at a conference in California, and it's a small group of people, about 50 of us, and he was a psychologist, and his name's Mike Foster, and he said, I just found this lady on Instagram that has such great work. And so he said that, and of course I immediately found you, and then I was on the phone with you in a couple of weeks trying to get
Hmm.
you scheduled. And so I'm curious that what made you put your work on Instagram? We talked about social media as being a really positive or a really negative influence, but what made you decide to make Instagram your platform?
Wow, I love how you said it's my platform. Well, interestingly enough, prior to using Instagram professionally, I didn't use social media much. I tried, I think in 2009, I tried to use Facebook and I used it for 1 year and I didn't like it and I left. So in 2017, I own a group counseling practice, and the office assistant was posting content, really just pulling stuff from like Pinterest and putting it on Instagram. And one day I looked at it and I was like, oh, is this what we're posting? And I decided to start creating some content for our business page. And I did that for about 2 years or so. And then I started my Nedra Tawwab thing, and it really grew so fast from there. I was apprehensive about that space because as a therapist, I hear people talk about the downside of social media.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we hear about the connections that are made, the community, the support, the things that we love about social media platforms. We always hear your dopamine keeps you there for the likes, and
Hmm.
it's this terrible space of bullying. But I wanted to create a different experience. And so
Yeah.
I went in with the intention of creating wellness content,
Hmm.
with the intention of breaking down therapeutic concepts and making them more digestible.
Right.
Because as therapists, we typically know what we're talking about, but our audience does not, because we're using so much professional jargon that
Yes.
we need to make things plain for the people that we're speaking to. And so I just wanted to create a space where people learned about mental health, the
Hmm.
benefits of therapy, and they felt good being online.
Yeah, and I would really say that that is what piqued my interest in your particular account and your content, because it was so clear for me. I'm a very concrete thinker. I have a really hard time seeing between the lines when people are making inferences. I don't get
Hmm.
jokes. I don't understand jokes. I mean, people laugh at me, and I'm like, it's okay because I do not understand what you're saying. And but your content was so clear for me. And as a pastor, as a leader, as a person that has a sense of influence, I felt very comfortable sharing that. I felt very
Mm.
comfortable knowing that other people will be able to apply this to their lives. And so,
Hmm.
definitely, that was your goal resonated with me, absolutely. This is kind of a sidebar that I wanted to ask about. Obviously, seeing your growth from when I started following you, there were less than 5,000, you had less than 5,000 followers, and now
Oh, wow.
over 1 million. And so I'm curious, do you get questions? Totally nothing to do with therapy, but how do I market my business? Do you get those kinds of questions as well? And how do you kind of navigate that?
I do get those questions a lot. Um, it's an interesting space to be in. I think
Mm-hmm.
anyone who has been there since, I would say that's sort of the beginning,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you will know that my technique has been consistency. That
Total
has been the
consistent.
technique,
Mm-hmm.
that most days you can expect to see something from me. So
Mm-hmm.
I have not had any secrets
Yeah.
about how I got to this point. I've just been consistent in creating content. Um, and I know that there are tons of people who do that. Maybe they don't get to 1 million, but
Mm-hmm.
that's my secret. I've been consistent in creating content. I try to make sure that when people are sending me questions, that I'm answering those things via content. I create, a
Mm-hmm.
piece of content to speak to a lot of the questions in my community.
Mm-hmm.
And it was shocking for me. I'll tell you, my account, probably January 2019, I had about 2,500 followers.
Okay.
A
So
few
that's
months
right when I
after.
started following you, like May.
Okay, so May I had about end of May I had 10,000,
Okay.
10,000 followers.
Uh-huh.
Um, July I had 100,000 followers. And I
So
was
that's what I was
like,
going to ask you. Was there a particular post that went viral?
I think there were several. So
Okay.
one of the things I did was play around with creating content in new ways.
Okay.
I started putting the things that people responded to the best as the post and not as the caption.
Uh huh.
And I think that really grew the audience, and it attracted more people, completely unintentional. Just, oh, maybe I should start making lists, or maybe I should stick to this one color palette. Just trying a few different things. For some people, it's pictures. For some
Mm-hmm.
people, it's maybe posting 5 words. I think we really have to think about what the people want to see, and if you want to cater to the needs of the people, because I found that they'll tell you exactly what you should be posting, what you should be writing.
Mm-hmm.
They're really creating the content for you through comments and DMs and feedback. They are helping you curate their experience.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask about that is I know we've got a lot of small business owners that are here and
Hmm.
have questions and work hard on a daily basis trying to get their ideas, their talent, their gift out there. But I think you've said a couple of things that I would love for this audience to remember is the aspect of consistency and staying true to what it is that you know you can do. And then the second thing is to ensure that you're answering the questions that your audience has and
Hmm.
addressing those things. I think I saw, it might have been last week on your Q&A that someone asked you if you write your own content. And I was like, oh, I know she did not like that question.
Well, so many people don't, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I think that content creators have a place in this world for a reason.
yeah.
There are many people who are paralyzed by the idea of creating something to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. What do I put? What do I do if, people don't like it? So that is paralyzing.
Yeah.
So it might be easier for you to get a content creator, a person who has the experience of doing it. And I guess I did that for years, right? I had, our office
Your office
assistant
assistant. Yeah.
kind of curating, not creating, but
Mm-hmm.
curating content.
Yes.
Um, but I realized that there is this expectation of perfection, even on social media. And I like to show up as an imperfectionist. I post about being an imperfectionist all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I am not a grammar queen. I'm not an editor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a writer. Writers are not editors. So there are
Right.
things that I may not catch sometimes. And oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, the comma police,
Oh,
the
yeah. They show up quickly, don't they?
they show up so quickly.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did I put in there sometimes? I'm like, oh my gosh, what I missed the comma. Gosh.
Yeah.
But we have to be okay with that. We have to
Mm-hmm.
be okay with showing up as we are. We are imperfect. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be okay with judgment. Sometimes, I may post something and people will say, that was so mean. You're so, just whatever comes with it, because that too is a part of being in this space, and I know
Mm-hmm.
it. And when things are a little too offensive, I have the power to block, delete, and restrict people who make certain comments. But
Mm-hmm.
the first part of getting into this space is knowing that you will you may have some people who don't like everything you post, and that's okay. I always hope that my people find me,
Yeah.
right? The people who need to see these messages, that they find them, they appreciate the message, and everyone else, please go follow someone else.
Yes. Yes, follow someone
Yeah,
else and leave me alone.
yeah.
Sometimes I just want to say, leave me alone. And
Leave
I
me
don't need my
alone.
commas. I checked. It's okay. If we miss them, we miss them. But, one of the things I love about your Instagram account, I mean, so many things, but just your willingness to do Q&A with your audience. And so I was curious, is there a particular, and I think you do it, try to do it every week, and I know just it comes up sporadically, and but is there a particular theme that you have seen as you have done Q&A that it's almost like in every segment of society they end up asking you about this particular area? And if you would mind sharing that.
Yes, well, of course, because I wrote a book about boundaries, I am
Hmm.
asked so many questions
I'm sure.
about boundaries.
Hmm.
Um, Lots of the questions are about permission. People want
Ah,
me to give them permission to do certain things, to feel a certain way, to
hmm.
exist in a certain way. So lots of them. I don't want to stay at my job. Should I leave it? I'm upset because my friend ghosted me. Is it okay to be upset? Lots of validation
Yeah.
seeking, which is normal. We want to be validated, and I
Hmm.
get it. I'm this figure online. So if I say it's okay, then it's
Yeah.
really okay. Um, but that is also a therapy concept. That's so much of what I do in therapists and
Hmm.
in therapy is tell people you are normal, what you're feeling is okay. If you want to quit a job, you're not a terrible person for wanting to quit a job. So much of what we do is normalizing and people come to Instagram with that. Outside of the permission and the boundaries, people just have so many relationship issues.
Yes.
So many relationship issues. I would say the biggest issues in relationships are those with family.
Hmm.
And every once in a while, I'll do this one Q&A where I'll say, share a secret. And so many of the secrets are about people not liking their parents,
Yeah.
really wanting to be done with, certain family relationships or
Hmm.
not being over some situation in the family. I don't share all of them because it's
Of
like I would be
course.
sharing the same thing over and over, but
Right.
I'll share a few of them. Um, so we still have a lot of pain that we're dealing with
Hmm.
and carrying from our families. So I get a lot of questions about family relationships because they're challenging our family. They have this imprint on us,
Yeah, of course.
and we are constantly trying to figure out ways to feel better, build boundaries, and exist in families even when we don't like the people.
Yeah. As children, and depending on, our family of origin and how healthy that it was, and I even, and, because one family's health might look different than another family's health. So I use that word very loosely, but it forms who we are. And I can really understand that people are coming to a speaker on the internet to get permission and to get validation. They know it doesn't feel well, but they don't
Hmm.
know. They need someone to say it doesn't feel well and give them permission. Even not necessarily to cut the family off, but just permission to feel differently. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. And you address a lot. I mean, just such amazing content in your book. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about that resonated so much with me, and of course we're not going to go through the whole book, but it's the cost of not having healthy boundaries. And I've been in therapy for the last 6 months or so. I have a real love-hate relationship with therapy. I'm going to be very honest about it. I make myself go because I know that I need to, because I just had some relationships that kind of crumbled and felt like um, I felt like it was my fault. And it was so freeing when my therapist was able to look at me and hear that story and hear all the stories and be just very non-biased to say,
Hmm.
listen without judgment. And so that was great. But one of the things I realized, this is what I'm leading to, is that I have lived the majority of my adult life without healthy boundaries. It's very clear to me. And I didn't realize that. If you had asked me, I would have said, sure, it's okay. I'll say no. I've learned that no is a complete sentence. I could say no. But it was the way I felt about it. And so your book is so liberating, but this is one of the things I wanted to share. In chapter 6, I'll show you how to communicate boundaries clearly, but know that if you haven't told someone what yours are, they can't possibly know. People can't meet a standard we never express. Boundaries are not unspoken rules. And I wanted to throw the book and say, yes, that is so true. Oh my goodness, because we expect people to know what we think. And
Hmm.
so I was curious, how did you come to that sentence? Boundaries are not unspoken rules.
That cut came to me from sitting in a chair across the room from people or one person sitting on a couch and telling me how they're upset, they're mad, they're frustrated, they're resentful that some need or expectation wasn't met. And we'll go through this process of, did they know? And a lot of it is they should just know. It should be common sense. People should be able to read our minds. Why do I have to tell someone to do blank? Um, and so often we do. And we have to do it more than once. We've all been children before. And I'm sure there was some sentence that your parent always repeated: clean your room up, clean your room up, get your backpack, whatever that thing is.
Mm-hmm.
That we are not always thinking about other people and their needs, their wants, their desires, what they would like in this situation. And sometimes we just don't know.
Yeah.
But when you're holding people to a standard that they're unaware of,
Mm-hmm.
you will always be disappointed. You will feel resentful. You will be frustrated and upset. So, to save yourself from that, even if you think it's simple and small, tell the other person, express whatever you're thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because being upset at someone who doesn't even know what the expectation is, it's it's tough because it's almost like, well, do you have the right to be upset?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you even have the right to be upset because they didn't know? You're
Yes.
holding them to a standard that they're unaware of. So you can absolutely be upset if you mention to them what the boundary is, what your expectation is. But if they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a scenario in the book where I talk about a child trying to set an adult child trying to set some boundaries with his father, who was an alcoholic, and how he had to repeat the boundary and how he had to honor the boundary.
Mm.
If you call me inebriated, I will not speak to you. I am having this event, please do not come here under the influence of alcohol. If that has not been said and this person shows up and they're drunk and you're like, I can't believe they would come drunk. Well, how did they know they weren't supposed to?
Yeah.
Who told them? Who said anything to them? Now we would say, well, common sense. Well, this person is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Are we trying to tell an alcoholic to figure out when you should drink? Isn't that a part of being an alcoholic, that
Yeah.
you don't have those boundaries with alcohol?
Right.
So if there is something that you need or want in the relationship, you have to advocate for it because it's not that other person's desire. Their desire is to drink when and how they want to.
Yeah.
Your desire is to have a sober parent, at least at family events.
Yeah. You're using the word desire, but would you use that interchangeably with responsibility? Like it's your responsibility to communicate what it is that you expect in the relationship?
Absolutely. It is your personal responsibility to honor your boundaries and to
Mm-hmm.
communicate what your needs are to other people. And
Mm-hmm.
once you do that, you can hold them to task for not meeting those things. I mean, it's almost like we exist in this world where, let's say you started your new job and no one tells you what to do, and then they're upset at you for not doing these particular things. You're like, I didn't know the roles of this job.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but that's what we're expecting in
Hmm.
our relationships with people. They have no rules of engagement, they haven't been given a manual or anything. But
Hmm.
the expectation is they should be doing all of these things exactly in this way. How are they supposed to know? Who
Yeah.
has told them?
Well, and I compare it a lot of times to a job and job responsibilities and
Hmm.
a job description, and that as supervisors, I've always been a firm believer. I cannot hold somebody responsible for a task I've not explained. I can't then
Hmm.
go dock them for something that they don't understand. It wasn't clear. That onus is on me to be a clear communicator. And I think it is the same thing in our, if I have all of these expectations for my relationships, if I want them to be strong in a place that I feel safe, isn't it my responsibility to say what I need? It's not so much common sense for a person who can't read between the lines, like me. So I've had to learn to do that. It did not come naturally. And I think it
Mm.
doesn't come naturally to a lot of folks.
Yeah, that made me think of I have someone in my life that likes to buy trinkets and just give me little trinkets. Oh, I just got you this little shirt. Oh, I just got you this towel set. Oh, I'm like, and it's just like, please don't buy me anything. Please don't, because I lean towards minimalism,
Hmm.
and I'm very particular about the type of stuff that I purchase because I like it to be long term, sustainable. Like,
Hmm.
please don't buy me stuff.
Hmm.
But there are other people who are like, I love when she buy. I just don't want. I don't need a. I don't know why I have a watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I work from home. I don't need a watch.
Yeah.
But
That's
but
funny.
I get it that
Hmm.
this person feels this need to be a gift giver, and that could work well in all her other
Yeah.
relationships. It doesn't work with me.
Yeah.
I would prefer you not buy me gifts. You can buy me lunch, you can buy me tea. There are a lot. I mean, if you just want to spend your money, just cash out me $10. I get it. But please don't buy me these things that I have to give back to you, throw away, re-gift. Like,
Yeah.
it's not well received.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of people, it's many of us like that. We all have that person in our life that's a terrible gift giver, and we just let them keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
Yeah.
piles and piles
And
and
it
piles up.
piles up. I
Hmm.
always hope, I say, oh, I hope you never give them the gift back.
Yeah.
Right. So,
That is such a good example about being and I'm going to ask you this as a therapist. Does this resonate with you? I feel like we use the word toxic a lot to talk about
mm,
relationships, and we'll say that person's toxic or that person's toxic. But one of the, I don't like labels, and it's hard for me to even use that word. But do you think that a person can be toxic in one relationship, but the same person is not toxic for another person? Is it possible that the same person could have a healthy relationship in another relationship, but maybe not with me? I didn't have
I
that on
don't like
paper.
the
I'm sorry.
No, 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 you're fine. No, you can ask whatever you want to. We
Okay.
can talk freely. I don't like the word toxic. It is a word that I used to use.
Okay.
Actually, in this book, when I was editing it,
Yeah.
I went back and changed everything well, I hope I did. If you
Yeah.
find toxic in there, it's an accident.
Yeah.
But I tried to change toxic to unhealthy
Yeah.
because the inference with toxic is that it is like a all consuming,
Yes.
everybody is getting the same you.
Yes.
And I think things can be unhealthy for us and not unhealthy for other people. I just
Yes.
mentioned the gift giving. That could be
Yes.
like my pet peeve and I don't like it, right? But
Yeah.
other people could love it. Other people could love you popping up at their house unannounced.
Yeah.
I happen to not like that.
Yes.
So this is my preference, and someone else can have a different preference.
Yeah.
I could identify you doing something as toxic. You're
Right.
toxic. You don't call before you come over. Is that toxic? So I think there are things that are toxic, right?
Yes.
But just the way in which we use it, we are using it to describe things that are not necessarily toxic,
Yes.
that don't bleed over to other
Hmm.
relationships. I do think that people can be a different version of themselves with different people. And I
Yes.
love to watch documentaries about serial killers and all of this stuff. And if you ever watch any of those, you will find that they are typically really nice to someone.
Yes.
Whether they sometimes are married,
Hmm.
and they
Yes.
have the wife is like, he is the sweetest person ever. Like, he did what I just can't, you know, it could be the wife, it could be, their neighbor, a student at the athlete, all sorts of things, because we have the ability to be a different version of ourselves. Sometimes that could be manipulation, right?
Yes.
Maybe we want to create a story where we say, oh, he was so nice. He was nice to me. I
Yeah.
don't know. But I do think that people can be different. Now, in most cases, people are pretty much themselves with everyone
Yeah.
to some degree.
Hmm.
And we do have people who have a very challenging time maintaining or even establishing relationships because they do have some qualities that are troubling for most people.
Hmm.
They may have, maybe a few people who will stick around, but the majority of folks are like, oh, no, 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 no. I see some red flags here.
Hmm.
So we are ourselves mostly in most of our relationships.
Hmm.
I would say even in the therapy space, I have clients who do things and I'll say, oh, is that what you do when, with your coworkers, or is that what you do with people? Like the second guessing of yourself, or you're assuming what someone is thinking about you. Like, I see people doing it. So this is who you are to everyone. So
Hmm.
when you say people say I have low self-esteem, and I don't, I I I see what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I see what they're talking about. And you may not be able to see it, but I see it in the way that you um, try to assume what I think about you, or you're second guessing yourself and these sort of things. So
Hmm.
for the most part, we're not that good at manipulating people into thinking we're something else. We just show up as we are, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's good for most people, but sometimes it's not, and that is unfortunate.
Yeah, and it goes back to a wonderful quote that I've tried to make a part of my life, Dr. Maya Angelou, that believe people the first time they show you, when you show who they are. And a lot of times I really had trouble with that because I thought people had the ability to change. And of course, I have such reverence for her and her work and her wisdom. And like, she knows a lot more than me. And so I need to really be able to lean into that. But I have found that in 20 years of leadership is absolutely true. They might not want to be that person, but that's who they are. And
Hmm.
then it's up to me if I'm going to choose what level of my circle I'm going to let them to come into. And so, yeah, I really, really appreciate that. Um, I'm curious with your boundaries book. I think I already know the answer to this, but what made you decide to write the book? Did it come out of some all of this work on Instagram, and you just were able to see what really resonated with folks? Was it your personal life that maybe you yourself have struggled with creating strong boundaries? What made you decide boundaries of all the other mental health topics really that you could have chosen?
I think it's all of the things you said, and it's that we don't know enough about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
We don't, I still feel like we need more information about boundaries,
Hmm.
because it's such a complicated topic. There is a handful of books on the topic of
Hmm.
boundaries.
Yeah, they're not a lot.
Uh, there are not a lot of books
Hmm.
about boundaries, and I wanted to write a book that had newer, I don't want to say newer, but from a therapist perspective, what I think boundaries are, what I've seen people struggle with,
Hmm.
the things that I see people struggle with on Instagram, the things that
Yeah.
I have struggled with, the things that my clients are talking about that are all boundary issues.
Mhm.
I learned about boundaries. Um, I was in grad school. And when I was in grad school, you're taking all of these clinical classes, and a teacher said to us, if you're going to be a therapist, you should go to therapy. And I said, oh, wow, that's an excellent suggestion. And so I started going to therapy on campus. And I didn't have issues with implementing boundaries or knowing what the boundaries were that were, for different situations. I knew what the boundaries should be. And sometimes I was able to implement it pretty good. My challenge was dealing with people not liking my boundary,
Ah,
because I had a lot of people who would say I was mean, I was rude. And I'm talking about people who were taking advantage of me,
okay.
and trying to convince me that you should allow someone to borrow your last. You should allow someone to, use your car and bring it back on empty. You should allow, and I was like, this just doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
Because I
for
would say
sure.
things like, no, you can't do that. No, I will not keep your dog for a whole month. No, I would. I'm serious. These
Oh
are
my
things I was saying
goodness.
to people. And I was painted as a monster.
Oh
It's
my
like, you
goodness.
don't you don't want to keep a dog for, it's like, no, I don't even have a pet. Just, that's a huge commitment.
Yes, for
Um,
sure.
so I was put into these situations and I would be like, no, no, no. And there would be this fallout and there would be this shaming to get
Oh
me
yeah.
to, you should just do it. I'm like, I just don't want to commit to a dog.
Hmm.
It's such a huge responsibility. That's why I don't have one.
Yeah.
Um, but so I went to therapy and I would talk about these things. And this therapist, I mean, she brought up the B word. She brought up boundaries. And I was like, I've never heard this. What is this? My ears are open. And from that time, it really put me in the space of thinking about enmeshment, codependency, work life balance, some issues we have with social anxiety,
Yeah.
sometimes when we're depressed because we're afraid to speak up. I was able to frame many of those therapeutic issues around boundaries. How
Yeah.
do we help you become more assertive? How do we help you to speak up for the things you want in your life? How do
Hmm.
we help you communicate with your partner that you need more help? And this is why, you're having this postpartum experience, because you're not speaking up, you're not seeking support, like helping people to understand that a lot of the things that they're dealing with comes from this space of, you have a need and
Hmm.
you haven't expressed it.
Yeah.
You're saying no, to the wrong things. You're saying no to help
Yeah.
and yes to doing more.
Yes.
So how do we shift that? Because so often, one boundary issue that we don't really consider is having rigid boundaries, where people just, they don't accept help. They don't allow people to be of service in their life. And that's a really big issue that people who come from dysfunctional childhoods struggle with. It's like help is a weakness. Like,
Yeah.
oh, no, 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 no. They go from one extreme to the other. Either I have to be codependent or I have to be me dependent.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the middle is really, there are lots of times where you need help.
Yes.
We need help, and it's okay to ask for it. It's okay to receive it.
Hmm.
And so, because I work with people who have family issues, we have to learn how to accept help.
Yes.
So when someone says to you, how can I help you? Think of something. Just make up something. Can you water my plants? You don't even have to have a real need. Just make up something. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, put all of my combs in a row. I don't know. Just just come up with something. It's okay to have needs. When people say, tell me what you need, tell them. Don't
Yeah.
say, okay, I'll let you know. Um, Let me think. Make a need list. Just make a list of
Yeah.
things that you need on Tuesdays, things you errands that people can help you with.
Yeah.
Um, because it's not cool to be strong. And here's another thing, and I don't talk about this a lot. I haven't figured out a way to create content around it, but uh, I think it would help us with aging if we allow people to show up for us,
Oh, that's
because
so
there is
good.
this time in life where we are so needy. I would say from 0 to 2, we are can't even hold our heads up.
Yeah.
We don't even know what the hand is. It's just flopping,
Yeah.
right? And when we get to about 2, we realize, oh my gosh, I can stand up, I can walk, get away from me, people, but they
Yeah.
still need a lot of help. And that's when we become resistant.
Yeah.
At that phase, it is, I can do it, I can do it. And I have 2 small children, and I'll let them struggle. And I say, when you get tired, let me know because I do want to help you. So simply say, I need your help. Can you help me with? And so they're typically pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Um, and so we get into this mode of independence, and we don't want to stop it. We
Yeah.
don't ever want to stop. It's like, I can do it myself. I got it. So from 0 to 2, we needed everything. And from 2 to 100, we want to do everything by ourselves. And it just doesn't make sense. And it
Yeah.
puts us in a situation to always have to be our biggest supporter, our own person. We have to accept that there may be a time where I cannot drive. I may hurt my foot and I may need someone to help me.
Yeah.
There may be a time where it may be difficult for me to bend over. For women, we may experience this in pregnancy. And oh, do we get upset about it? I
Yeah.
can't bend over. I can't. That's where we have to say, can you help me? Can you pick this up for me?
Yeah.
Can you come over and, get my baseboards? They're looking really bad, but I can't bend down right now.
Yeah.
There are so many times in life where we really need to ask for help and we don't. We'll figure out a way to sit on the floor and clean the baseboard ourselves. Our back hurting, our pelvis is sore, and we'll just do it. We'll just do
Uh,
it. You have so many elderly people who have falls because
yeah.
they're doing things that you shouldn't be on a ladder.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are so many things that we need to release.
Yeah.
So many people in my life laugh at me all the time because I say I will find help for anything.
Yeah.
If I could have someone do anything, I'm like, I need help. I need where you'll help me. Okay, I have a long, long list of of things that I'm willing to accept help with because I
Yeah.
know that it is stressful trying to plan a party all by yourself. I want 10 people to help me. Who's on the food? Who's on decoration?
Yeah.
Who can help with the guest list? Who can I don't want to be the one person show.
Yeah. That is
We may
really
think it.
hard for people. That is really hard for
Yeah.
people to cultivate. I think it goes back to a lot of our American culture, is very independent, the self-made person, that we've, made our own way and we didn't ask anybody for help. And it's almost that entrepreneurial spirit, it is applauded and celebrated. And then when that same person has, an emotional breakdown or they have a lapse in judgment and they blow up their family, because they're just burned out, then we also are the culture that is the first to point our finger at them and say, you blew up your life. You said you were strong, but too bad, so sad. You really were weak. And so I just think that's such an amazing concept. After I finish this talk, I'm going to make myself a help list.
A helpless.
A help list
Yeah.
so that I
So
am ready.
yeah, and I think it's really useful to do when something happens in your life, when you become pregnant,
Yeah,
when you lose a loved one, if you lose a job, if you're
yeah,
going through a transition, when you're moving. Those are beautiful times to write a help list.
yeah,
Around the house, what things do you need help with?
yeah,
I am often shocked at the people who have the financial ability to receive help, but they will figure out how to be an electrician. I'm not an electrician.
yeah,
I don't want to figure out this light.
yeah, absolutely.
I the best use of my time. This is the best use of my time.
Yeah.
Trying to watch YouTube videos to figure out how to change tires and do oil changes and braid hair and all of these things. That is
Yeah.
not my gift set. And I'm okay.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I can barter. Maybe there's a service that I can do that I can barter with someone else if I
Yeah.
really want to feel like, okay, this is more fair. But
Hmm.
ultimately, I do not want to do everything. I want to
Right.
live in a system of community and support.
Absolutely. And I think that's where boundaries lead us, is they lead us with being able to recognize what we do really well and being able to see
Mm-hmm.
what you do really well and letting you do
Mm-hmm.
you and I do me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that just
Yes.
leads, especially with women, so many times we try to be in the schools with our kids and be that person who's going to drive the bus so that, I'm a part of the field trip and that I'm always there. And I want to be the very best at my job and I want to be able to get the best evaluations. And then I'm going to volunteer. I've got to have humanitarian services as part of my life. I need to be able to coach the T-ball team. It is impossible for one person to do all of that, don't you think? To do it well.
Absolutely. And we are very stressed by trying to be that one
Yeah.
person to do it all. I
Yeah.
work with, so many mothers who are overworked, and even the ones who have partners, even the
Yeah.
ones who have partners, they are still doing so much on their own. And some of it has to do with society
Yeah.
because I'll tell you, it's really funny. Um, if we have a gathering and people come to our house, they always compliment me on cooking, decorating, anything that has to do with the house. Sometimes I don't cook, it's my husband. And I'll say, oh, I didn't cook this, he cooked it. Really? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a human that cooks. Isn't it shocking? Wow, this human can cook.
That's so funny.
Um,
He is a human who
yeah, or
cooks.
he's a human who cooks. But so we know, women already know that all of these things are my responsibility. And if I don't do these things, it is rather shocking to society
Yeah.
that I'm not the person who is cooking or the
Yeah.
person who is cleaning my home or the
Yeah.
person who is, putting my clothes. It's shocking. It's almost like it's a luxury to have help
Yeah.
as a woman. It's like you don't want to take your kids to school. Who loves Carline? I mean, who loves it?
Nobody. Nobody.
Mastered it. I try to be the last car there. I'm like, you know what? I figured out Carline. Go late.
Yes. Absolutely. Be the last person there. You don't have to sit in that line.
Last
Yet,
car. You don't have to sit in the line. I'm like, oh, it starts at 7:50. I'll get there at 8:15. I want to be the last car that I started with going at 7:50.
yeah.
Actually, I started going at 7:30, so we would sit there and we would wait.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
said, well, these people must know something because there were, people before me. And I said, I
Mm,
figured out the system here.
yeah.
You have to go last. There's no wait.
No, wait. Yeah, it didn't take me long to advocate that responsibility to my husband. I was not the car ride
Yes.
person. Yeah, and
Yes.
he would sit there and he could come up with conversation and they would count and do. And I was like, this is such a waste of my time. I got to figure out what to do to
Yep.
help this situation. So I let him do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something I took help
Mm-hmm.
with, and I was okay with that. One of the things I have found in setting boundaries is that I have been, when I've created good, strong boundaries, I've been accused of being mean or being harsh or being narcissistic or being selfish. And so, why are people so quick to say a person who knows what they need and identifies that is they're negative? Why are those comments negative rather than celebrating that person knows what they need to be successful?
Mm-hmm. You know, unfortunately, we live in a world where when people don't get what they want, it's me.
Yep,
I hate to keep comparing us to kids, but that's the only thing I could think of.
it's true.
Kids, they have the ability to say no's and no and that we need to reclaim.
Yeah.
And their no is really based on their desire. That's all they're thinking about. They're really not trying to be mean. Do you want to go over your grandma's house? No, no, I don't. She's not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't. Would you like more broccoli? No. They're not, they're not thinking about like, how will this land? How it is just this primary instinct to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And someone asked me a yes or no question, and my answer is no.
Yeah.
As adults, I don't know when this happened, but I remember many years ago, there was a lot of stuff about don't tell your kids no. These are other things you can say instead of saying no. Redirect your kids. And I said, oh no, this is terrible. We need to condition people to hear no. Because what's happening is we are adding to the message that is mean to say no. If you're asking someone a yes or no question, the options are equal,
Yes.
right? You ask me a question. Can I go to dinner Saturday? No. That's it. It was
So
yes or no.
good.
It's not open ended. Now, if you ask the question of, would dinner be good for you on Saturday? And if it's not, tell me why. Then I have to come up with a different answer. Now you've asked the open ended question. But when you ask a question that is yes or no, be okay with the no. Practice dealing with your discomfort around hearing no. We all hear it.
Yeah.
We all receive rejection. It doesn't, it's not like at some point in life we'll say, you know what, I really love being rejected. No, it sucks.
Yeah.
It hurts. And we can deal with that.
Yeah.
We've been rejected and told no for most of our lives. It's fine. Please allow people to tell you no. Please practice saying no. It is a very healthy thing for you and other people. You cannot do everything, and you should not even try. Please say no
Yeah.
and use yes wisely.
Yes, that is so good. I always think we do such a disservice to children when we are forcing them. I mean, because we're the grown-ups in their life and they want to please us inherently. And when we ask that yes or no question and they clearly say no, and then we deconstruct all the reasons why they should say yes. We are
Mm-hmm.
teaching them that my no doesn't mean no. My
Mm-hmm.
no means maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wonder why we have such difficulty in creating boundaries.
Well, the book is called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, a guide to reclaiming yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Reclaiming yourself because we used to know what our
Yes.
boundaries were. And we used to be super clear about those things.
Yes.
And just existing in the world, not just in your home, but in school, with your friends, in, romantic relationships, we learn that it's really not okay to have boundaries, that people have some reaction to that. And
Hmm.
so we should really consider, you know, can we let's just add it. Let's just add this other thing because we don't want to hurt this person's
Yeah.
feelings. We don't want to be selfish. Um, Today I slept in a bit. My kids probably came in the room 4 or 5 times, different things. Hey, when you get up, and I'm like, okay, I'm basically up anyway. But they're coming in the room and they're asking things. But I really wanted to give myself the space to sleep in.
Yeah.
I wake up at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. And on Saturdays, I wanted to care for myself by laying in the bed until I couldn't lay there anymore.
Yeah.
Now, some people would say, that's selfish. You have kids, you have to get up. Do you? Do you? I don't think so. I don't, sometimes I think it's a helpful exercise to
I don't think so.
think about things that we needed and didn't get in childhood,
That's so good.
right?
Yeah.
And all of the rest of that stuff, maybe we don't need to pay attention to it. And I don't remember a time where I felt changed as a human because my mother didn't get up early on a Saturday morning. That
Yeah.
didn't change my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no stories about that. I'm not in therapy talking about, on Saturdays, she wanted to sleep in. That's not a therapy story I have. I have others.
Yeah.
That's not one of them. So we
Yeah.
really have to think about the things that are changing our kids' life. And
Yes.
sleeping in is not one of them. That's
Yeah.
not a story I've ever even heard as a therapist.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay with sleeping in. I think we're
Yeah.
okay.
And sometimes that moment of self-care for you, and just that's one of the things I said last night about all of these ladies that's in this room, that you made a commitment to put yourself on the list by
Hmm.
coming to an event that was created for you. And a lot of times, especially if we had other events to be with our kids and different things that we needed to do, we want to make sure that we do those things. But it's going to be okay for your children to see yourself, put yourself on the list. And I think that
Hmm.
is something that's modeling them. Before we go, I wanted to share with you one of your posts that completely addressed where I was at that moment. So I'm going to read this to you guys. It's one of her Instagram posts, and then I kind of share with you. It gives you an idea of her content if you're not following her on Instagram, but it also gives a window into why Nedra became so important in my life. So here's the post: Uncomfortable truth. Sometimes things don't happen for a reason. It can be hard to accept that some things don't make sense. It can be hard to process that you had no power to change what happened. But some things don't have a why. Now, this was her caption. Shame and blame are sometimes the byproducts of people having to conjure a reason. Sometimes things happen and it's not your fault. Sometimes things happen and there's nothing you could have done to prevent them. Sometimes things happen and you will not know the reason. Sometimes no one is at fault. Accept that you cannot control everything, and neither can anyone else. Now, that was February 27th this year, and I immediately printed that, put it in all of my places that I needed to see. And I was just getting ready to start looking for a local therapist. And I felt like every bad thing that had happened in my life in so many areas, it was all my fault. Because my personality type is that I want to fix things, and if things go awry, then I should have done something better. And I remember sitting in front of my therapist, and I was saying that out loud, and in my mind I was thinking, wow, that sounds so arrogant. How did you become the center of the universe, Lana, where you believed? And in my mind, it was almost virtuous because I was taking the responsibility. But I
Hmm.
realized that through this post, that you know what, sometimes nobody is at fault. It just is what it is. And so I
Hmm.
just wanted to personally thank you for that post because it was very powerful for me.
Mm. You are welcome. It's funny because sometimes when I do these talks, people will, let me know the piece of content that impacted them, and I'm like, huh, I wrote that.
Yeah.
I don't have a content manager. It's just,
Yes.
so much of what I write is in the moment.
Yeah.
It is based on, I would say spirit just moving through me. And that's the thing that comes up. Sometimes I'll be in a car and I'm like, oh, and I just type something out. Or sometimes, I'll have a day or two and I'll plan it. But um, hearing things back, it's like, wow, oh, I wrote that. It
That
was,
was good. Yeah,
thank you.
and
Thank you.
and your whole book, I mean, that is exactly the way her book reads. So I want you all to purchase it. We have a couple that are here, but you can find it wherever books are sold. And again, set boundaries, find peace. And I love that, a guide to reclaiming yourself. I mean, I've read it twice, Nedra, and I've got it on Audible. I've listened to it. I like to hold a book, but I also, when I'm driving, I like to listen and kind of just let it sit in there again. Do you have a favorite post that you've done? Something that is really special to you or um, something that you'd like to share with us just before we let you go?
I do. I'm gonna pull it up. Let's
Okay.
see. It is about family,
Yeah.
of course. I have a workbook coming out in December,
I
a
actually was going to
boundaries
ask you
workbook.
about that.
Yes, I have a boundaries workbook to help people deepen the work around boundaries.
Yeah.
So oh gosh, can't use Instagram when I'm trying to use Instagram. Let's see here. Um, I don't know if it's not my most popular. I'm looking through my most popular posts here, and can I find it? Hmm. It's about generational patterns. If you want to break generational patterns, do this. And of course, I can't find it because I'm looking for it. Um, that is my favorite post, though. I'll put it up on Instagram in my stories because I cannot find it right now.
Okay. That's
Um,
all right.
yeah. I will say, outside of that one, I have really enjoyed creating intentions for the new year.
Okay.
So I have one for 2020, I have one for 2021. So in December, I start to, just reflect on lessons from the year, the things that I learned, and things that I want to take forward into the new year. So I really love those sort of posts.
Yeah.
They're really fun to create. They are, a great way to reflect. And I would say most of the things that I write about family, because I think that is where we need the most work typically.
Yeah.
Um, and that family system influences who we think we are, our relationships to things with people. So most of the posts on family are like they're deep.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we need this. So most of those are my favorites.
And we do
Um,
carry, generational habits, those values. I mean, families, we all know families have blown up over holiday traditions.
mhm,
Someone that wants to depart, or, and I don't want to say break it, but maybe just add to it or change it. And I'm just
mhm,
curious as to why do we feel that we have to hold on to some of those family experiences at the expense of destroying our family.
mm. I was talking to a friend, and I don't want to say it's a cult, but it's certainly a way of thinking, a system of thoughts. And when you break away from
Yeah.
anything that you have been taught, particularly in dysfunctional families, is very threatening
Yes.
because that means that there is something that we have to do about the system.
Hmm.
And many times we don't want to do any work. And so people doing their work is like, oh, no, 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 don't you do anything because we like the way that things are going. Please allow us to, keep being dysfunctional. And really, is really helpful when we are able to change and those changes are accepted. I
Yeah.
found the post.
Oh, good. All right. Do tell
Yes.
us. All right.
So if you want to change generational patterns, do this. Encourage your children to talk about their feelings. Apologize to kids when you're wrong.
Oh, so good.
Allow your kids to see you being emotional and explain your feelings to them.
Yeah.
Spend time with your kids doing what they like.
Oh, yeah.
Teach them healthy ways to deal with triggers. Have hard conversations with your kids. Allow your kids to correct you. Model what you want them to learn.
Yeah.
And last, be the person you wish you had and be the person that they need.
That's so good. Be the person that you wish you had and be the person that they need.
Yes. So if you wish your parent woke up early on Saturdays, then you have to wake up on Saturdays.
That's so good. That's so good. Well, I just thank you so much, Nedra, for just making time to be with us today. And I cannot say enough about how much I just appreciate your influence in my life. And as a result of influencing my life, you've influenced the life of my kids and the life of my husband and my family. And you just keep doing you, girl, and doing that good work.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. I
I
hope
hope to see
the
you soon.
rest of the conference is wonderful. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll say goodbye.
Bye.
Give it up for
Bye.
Nedra.